Hi, Analisa 6 here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to bring you the March 2024 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Gemini for Sun and Rising placements. Hi, Gemini. Welcome to March. We are entering March with a lot of ungrounded energy because we are in Pisces season. Pisces energy is a little challenging for Gemini because it's on the mutable spectrum, just like Gemini. And whenever a sign is in the same modality of another sign, they make what's called a hard aspect to each other, a square. So Gemini and Pisces square each other. And you're also in you're in opposite polarities of energy in terms of Gemini being in the yang polarity and Pisces being in the yin polarity. So Pisces energy is, mutable water. It's more internal, it's emotional. Gemini is more external and it rules um, our thoughts, ideas. Mercury rules the mind and is the ruler of Gemini. And so, Gemini energy tends to be more heady, more expressed in the communication, thought process kind of thing. It's less feeling oriented. Not saying Geminis don't have feelings, you do, but just, that's where the archetype of Gemini manifests. And then Pisces is the energy that's more feeling centered and more intuitive, more spiritual, more in touch with kind of those hidden energy frequencies, where Gemini is more fact-based and more scientific, more kind of this is the data, this is the analytical process, where Pisces is like, I don't care about the data, I'm going to feel into it. So Pisces energy can be really ungrounding for a Gemini dominant person, because if you are a Gemini dominant person that has a hard time with feelings or with expressing feelings or being in your feelings, Pisces energy kind of forces you into that realm. I do know a lot of Gemini dominant people with Pisces energy and a lot of Pisces people with Gemini energy. And so if you're one of those people where those things go together, then you have both things kind of working for you, but it's also very ungrounding energy. That mutable kind of aspect makes things mutable, adaptable. They're more scattered feeling for a lot of people. It's hard to kind of hone everything into a more linear one track kind of place because it's all encompassing. It's all out here. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I apologize, but I'm all out here today. So I feel like the Piscean Gemini kind of thing is definitely how I'm feeling right now in terms of feeling blown out. That's how I kind of see it. It's blown out. So, we're in Pisces season, and then Mercury, which is Gemini's ruler, is also in Pisces. And Mercury is also the ruler of Virgo, and Pisces is the opposite of Virgo. And so this energy is considered, with Mercury and Pisces, to be in detriment. It's not the most comfortable place for Mercury because it is, feeling centered. It's less analytical. So one of the benefits of all the Piscean energy we have, because we have Saturn, the Sun, Mercury, and Neptune all in Pisces, is that our intuition, our connection to the psychic realm, our dreams, all of that is super enhanced right now. The area of the horoscope that this is hitting for the Gemini dominant individual is the area of the career, the 10th house. And so career is highlighted for you. And this is something that can be positive depending on where you're at with your career, in the sense that the emphasis here allows for you to kind of be focusing on leveling up, and leveling up in a way that's in line with what you're intuitively feeling. But we have Saturn here, and Saturn can also kind of bring some hardship into the mix, where we might feel blocked or stifled in certain ways, or we might be experiencing slow growth or growth around what we're doing in the world or our career in a way where we feel like it's not quite there yet, but we can feel into the things that we need to do or the things that we want to do in order to get there, and whatever that is. The other thing that's emphasized here is our intuition. So being able to um, predict things about maybe the work setting or the career setting. We're working on communication here too. There's some other things here with that I want to say. This is a really artistic energy and a creative energy. So if you have a profession that lends itself to be artistic or creative, that's all emphasized here. And it can actually be really positive for ideas and kind of thinking outside the box. The imaginal realm, the imagination is highlighted in Pisces, especially with Mercury in Pisces. One of the downsides of Pisces is that sometimes it can be a confusing time. We can feel kind of lost, like we're not sure exactly what we're doing or where we're going. So if you're feeling confused about your career, confused about some of the work stuff that you have going on, those are things that you're kind of trying to decipher and work through right now as well. And it is important for you to get clear on kind of what your inner voice is telling you during this time. Another thing that we enter the month of March with is Mars and Venus in a pretty close orb of influence of each other. They're not quite conjunct yet, but they're in a conjunction. And they're in Aquarius and hitting the area of the chart for Gemini that has to do with our values and belief systems, and also travel, long distance travel, and also higher education and learning. And Pluto also just entered this area of the chart for Gemini, and Pluto is going to be here for the next 20 years. Pluto entered in January, Aquarius, and that is, something that's been happening off and on since last year. Pluto started to enter into Aquarius, then went back into Capricorn. It was kind of dancing around a little bit. And then in January, it fully stationed into Aquarius and entered the 9th house of the horoscope chart for Gemini. So this 9th house area is highlighted by Pluto, Venus, and Mars. And, we have this emphasis on what your values and beliefs are, what you're doing in the world in that way. When it comes to this house is the house of the seeker for knowledge, the seeker for truth, wisdom. So there's different ways it can play out. You might want to go travel the world and experience all these different things and, kind of gain this experiential wisdom through other cultures or other people. But it can also, be a academic journey where instead you feel like, maybe going back to school, doing something like that. It can also be a religious or spiritual journey. So if you also feel kind of inclined towards exploring a religion or spiritual practice, that's also supported here. So all of those themes come up, and they're going to be present for a long time with Pluto transiting this area of the horoscope chart. But in terms of the, more immediate future, we have Venus and Mars here, not the entire month, just at the start of March. So that's highlighted right now. So if you've been kind of contemplating some of those things and also asking yourself, what does it all mean? What do I feel like I'm in alignment with right now? Those are some things that come up for you during this time too. And it, with Mars here, it can feel a little bit like a internal conflict or an internal war. We also might feel guided towards seeing what somebody else is doing with Venus here. Venus, like another person, could have an influence on our values and beliefs. Because Venus is that relationship planet. And so our values and our beliefs around relationship are highlighted, and the people that we're in relationships with in that way, especially like a romantic partner in that way. So we might be questioning some of those things. Once we get a little bit further into the month, on the 9th, we're going to have a new moon in Pisces at 20. Oh, I'm sorry, it's on March 10th. We're going to have a new moon in Pisces at 20 degrees of Pisces. And again, Pisces energy squares Gemini. So there's some tension there. And this is happening in the area of career. So if you are hoping to reach certain career goals or manifest different things within your career, this is a great time to do that. There's something going on the 9th, I thought. Why did I think? No, I guess it's the 10th. I think the 9th is the day Mercury enters Aries, but in the universal time, it says the 10th. But I think the 9th is when Mercury is entering Aries. So Mercury will be around that time entering Aries. And the area that that's hitting for you is the area that has to do with your community and your friendship circles. And what's happening over this period of time in March, the whole month of March, is that we have the lunar node, the north node in the sign of Aries, making a conjunction to Chiron. Chiron's the wounded healer. And then Mercury is going to be kind of joining this party. So your Gemini is on a quest to kind of figure out your place in the world right now and who you want to associate yourself with when it comes to community and friendship circles. And, your work's highlighted, very emphasized during this, but then also your friendship circles, your community. And Chiron being a wound and being in Aries with the North Node here, it's an identity journey that's happening for you around the community that you've been surrounding yourself with. And then you've got this, kind of quest of beliefs, happening in the 9th house of Venus and Mars. There's a lot that you're asking yourself right now. Like, Am I in alignment? Am I doing the right thing with my life? What am I doing? Do I want to change things? You know, who am I in the world is a big question. When Mercury enters that party, we have to be careful because your internal journey that you're going on that is making you question your relationships with Mercury and Aries entering this, and Mercury is going to be here until May. There's a lot more opportunity for you to be more confrontational about what you think and how you feel in your relationships, for better or worse. And so I'm always pro being honest. I've been known to be abrasive. I've been known to be confrontational and too honest at times. And I've had to learn kind of when I need to not say anything, when I need to not put my foot in my mouth. It's still a journey that I'm on and I'm learning. But I've also learned that it's worse to not say anything at all sometimes too, right? And so there's this balance where we have to be honest. We have to find healthy ways to confront things, healthy ways to work through things, but there's also like a right time and a right place. And sometimes it can be straight up just hurtful to say certain things, even if you feel them honestly in that moment, or even if that's your truth in that moment, right? And so I think that one of the things that we forget sometimes when we're feeling passionate about something is that our words have consequences to them. And when we say certain things, they have impact on people. And I'm bringing this up because Mercury traveling through the 11th house in the Gemini horoscope, like your words are going to pack a punch. And maybe that's good. Maybe that's a punch that you need. Maybe you've been not honest enough. Maybe you've been suppressing things that need to come out. But the way you say it, when you say it, how you say it matters. Gemini being the ruler of communication, or Mercury being the ruler of communication and being the ruler of Gemini, it's interesting because Mercury in Aries, is very reactive and can be very blunt and abrasive in a way that can be destructive at times, with Mars kind of being a catalyst in that. But with the analytical mind of Gemini and Mercury being your ruler, you do have the ability to process things and think about things in an analytical way without just reacting. Geminis can be super reactive though. I've known a lot of Gemini Aries combinations of people, and there's a lot of like speaking before thinking, kind of happening. And I think that there's a lot of backtracking that has to be done sometimes. So this is an opportunity for you to work on that, but I fear that it's going to happen for you because it's just in the air. Like this is just like the Mercury in Aries, you're also on the receiving end of it with other people, right? So it's not just you that has to be mindful with how you're reacting and what you're saying in these groups of people. It's also, how people are acting towards you and how you respond to it, right? So that's a big theme. And there's also going to be a lot of need to heal maybe some deeper wounds around how you feel in the world and in the collective, like in your community and your friendship circles, those kinds of things. Shortly after that, a couple days later on the 12th, we have Venus entering Pisces, and Venus does really well in Pisces. She's exalted here, which means that she, is expressed in a positive way. And this is also really good energy for your work sector, your career. This is a really positive time for getting a promotion or a raise. So if that's something that you are hoping for this month, or a new job, that is something that is positive for you. And Venus is going to be passing through this house of career for you for the entire month of March. So, harness that energy. If you're thinking about applying for a raise or a promotion at your job, it's great. If you're self-employed and you're thinking about raising your rates, that would be a good time to do that as well. Or generating more clients if you're self-employed, that kind of stuff. Let's see here. On the 19th, we enter Aries season. So the spring equinox, it's the astrological new year officially. And again, talking about where Aries is in the horoscope chart, this is the area that has to do with friendship, group, community. The sun here is shining a big light here. We talked about some of the negative qualities of Mercury and Aries here and how it can just be, kind of grounds for more confrontational communication. With the sun here and with Mercury here, some of the positives are networking, especially with Venus in your career sector. So if you need to network, if you need to meet people, and if you need to do it in a very quick, swift way that gets results, like you're supported in that with this energy. Again, because, of a lot of the Piscean energy, you still want to try to slow it down a little bit and be discerning, because you could end up saying yes to things or jumping into things more quickly than without thinking about it, and then be like, oh, maybe that wasn't the best decision. There's a lot of that energy for all of us this month, like a lot of reactive emotional energy that gets us into situations where we're like, maybe I should have thought about that a little bit more. So try to tune into some of your analytical Gemini energy to think things through a little bit more. Gemini can also overthink things. So we just don't have a lot anchoring us. It's like you have to try to lean into where discernment can be, even if it feels like it's hard to decipher right now. Discernment's going to be hard in March for all of us. Like there's not a lot of energy that's grounding us. We have to like really intentionally work on that. Especially like Gemini, be more prone to anxiety. So after the sun enters into Aries season, we're going to have Mars entering Pisces as well. Again, action-oriented Mars entering your career sector with Venus being there. A lot can happen in the job, a lot of conflict, a lot of ungrounded energy, but Venus here still wants things to be harmonious and successful, but work's going to ramp up. You're going to feel a lot of energy boosted in that area. And in elusive Pisces, like, it could be great if you're a creative person and you do creative work. It could be really intense if you work with a lot of people and you're doing something with a team. There could be a lot of miscommunication during this time. Yeah, so just keep yourself on your toes a little bit with that. Then on the 25th, we're going to have a lunar eclipse at 5 degrees of Libra. And this is going to highlight the area of the chart that has to do with your self-expression and your creativity, and also romance, how we like to be romanced, how we connect through joy and play in a romantic partnership. This also has an emphasis on children and our relationship with children. And then the Aries sun is highlighting that area of community. So, full moons are a great time for letting go and releasing, and also manifesting and calling things in. A lot of astrologers think that you should not do any ritual manifestation work during a lunar eclipse or an eclipse in general. This is a portal. It's opening up energy for the next 6 months. I don't tell people what to do. If you want to do rituals or manifestations during an eclipse, like that's a journey that I think only you can dictate for yourself. But eclipse energy is intense, and it's oh, what are you doing, Bam Bam? My dog just startled himself, or I startled him, and then he was confused. So yeah, so we're just kind of in this place of a new cycle kind of starting for us over the next 6 months with the eclipse. And that's the area that's highlighted for you, is this area that has to do with community, friendship circles, healing the identity around who you are within your community. And then, this South Node Libra energy that's here too, a lot of it has to do with wanting external validation and having to also, it's interesting. Like the journey for validation is an interesting one, because humans are social creatures, and we like to share, and the 5th house, where the South Node is for the Gemini horoscope, is the house of Leo. We love to share. We love to connect with people. And the quest for validation from outside is that quest for love, for connection. And we want to be accepted, and we want to be, we're attention seeking because it validates our experience. Like as a Leo, I can say like the shadow quality of Leo is that we want to feel like what we have to offer is valued, because it makes our life purpose feel like it's worth doing, I guess. I think there's a lot of people that feel that way who aren't Leo, but I think Leo is really the sign. Leo, the sun rules Leo. And what is the sun? The sun is the self, the identity in the chart. And the sun, everything revolves around the sun. The sun is the light bringer. The sun is like, come to me and I will give you light. And what is the sun without the planets that revolve around it? What is the sun doing? I don't know. Like, it's interesting, right? Like, we don't, like, what would a sun be if there wasn't, like for us, it gives us life. The sun brings life. That's why the sun in the chart represents vitality. Because we wouldn't exist without the sunlight, and where the Earth sits in the solar system. So when we're thinking about, you know, the quest for validation within the 11th and the 5th house axis and where this eclipse is hitting for Gemini, there's something about that quest, right? Where a lot of times we'll hear in, you know, the quest for happiness or inner fulfillment comes from not seeking that in these egoic ways that are considered to be lower vibrational, right? Like these competitive, you know, comparing ourselves to other people, or these like kind of fake um milestones of success, right? Which, like, a fake milestone of success might be like your follower count on Instagram or how many likes a photo gets or something, because that doesn't do anything really for you. Like, there, it's a popularity contest that doesn't mean anything, right? But we create this dopamine hit of needing this external validation, right? And what we're really seeking through that is connection. And why we need connection is because it makes this, this is my perspective, I'm not saying this is how everybody feels, this is my perspective, obviously, is we seek this connection because it validates our experience and it makes us feel like we have purpose in the world. And if we don't feel like we have that purpose, then what are we doing here? Why are we here? You know, that's the Sagittarius problem for me. It's Gemini Sagittarius polarity of like, what are we doing? Why are we here? What does it all mean? Whether it's spiritual or scientific, you know, what does it all mean? And so this eclipse axis for Gemini is a lot about that. And I think that we tend to demonize the need for validation because there's this higher minded thing of like, if you don't need validation from the external world, then you're higher minded. And then you are somehow more enlightened. And then you know, are this confident, like, good person without, you know, ego or whatever. And I think that there's something that we are missing about validation, where that's validation is part of how we build community, because we're all agreeing when we validate somebody to their experience. And I think that we have to acknowledge that validation doesn't have to be dumb. Like, it doesn't have to be dumb, like just Instagram likes. Like, we don't have to base our whole existence on validation, but to crave validation and to want connection through validation, I think is a really beautiful experience when it's done appropriately. Like going to an art museum and really appreciating somebody else's artistic creation and that person feeling really seen by that, I think is beautiful. And same with music. Like when people listen to my music and they tell me like, oh my God, I love your music, I've been listening to it, it's really impacted me in this way. Like that connection for me, that's why I made it. You know, I made it so that somebody will say that to me. And not because of my ego in a negative way, but in that connection way. And I remember when I first, the experience that I had as a child listening to the Beatles and David Bowie was so moving and so life-changing for me in such a positive way. It made me feel like what was in my soul was seen, you know, and like I wasn't alone in that experience. And that was what made me want to be a musician, was I want to not only create this for myself, but I want to give this to other people, because how beautiful and how amazing is that? And so if I meet somebody that just feels anything from anything that I've created or done, it's that connection for me that I feel is like why I'm here, you know, like why I incarnated or reincarnated into Earth was to connect in that way, in a soul way. And I think that when we validate each other through that, it can be a really magical, beautiful thing. But I think that what happens often in the dumbed down version of our culture is that it gets diminished into ways that we can monetize it, ways that we can have these quick dopamine hits, you know, like the Instagram likes. And I love Instagram and I love getting things liked on Instagram because I'm a lower vibrational human as well, you know, like I like the dopamine hit of social media. But I think on the consciousness level of these eclipses, like what is your relationship to that? And are you having a healthy relationship to it? Are you having a relationship to your creativity, your self-expression, your need for validation that supports you in what you want to do in the world, you know, all this 10th house energy? Or are you doing it in more of like a McDonald's fast food way where it's not really serving you, it's not really fulfilling you? And I've had to ask myself a lot of those questions over the years. I'm a Leo too, so this axis is really common for me in terms of my journey as my sign. And then this is what the catalyst is for you, but in the Aries Libra polarity, but in these same houses for Gemini. So that's a big theme for Gemini during this eclipse season. All right, I think that's a good place to leave you. So, yeah, things to ponder. I will see you next month. Good luck. If you want to book a personal reading with me, you can look in the description box and I have my email there. You can send me an email. I do one-on-one astrology and tarot readings, and we can look at where some of this stuff is hitting in your chart and see the best way that you can utilize these energies moving forward in your life. So I hope to uh, hear from you. And if you liked this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and the like button. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys next month.